Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from San Antonio, and I'm here with Timbrel Hildebrand reporting from, I think, Arlington, maybe?
Yes, Arlington.
Arlington, Texas. And what are we watching today, Timbrel?
We are talking about Return to Witch Mountain, if I
Uh,
am not mistaken.
yeah. So, what's your, first, like, takes on this film?
It was interesting. I was surprised. I thought it was a very interesting take on. I think it was an interesting sequel. Like they really did something new with it that was very different from the original one.
Right. How is it different?
I just feel like I think they made it a little bit more. I don't know. It was a different story and a different dynamic. Just deciding to split the twins up for like the majority of the movie. It
Right.
felt very sequel. Like a lot of good sequels I've noticed do something like that where they put the characters in kind of like a new uncomfortable situation, usually involving like splitting each other up, which I think is a cool idea. So
Right.
yeah, so that was neat.
Yeah, and then we also have two really talented actors joining us as the villains. We got Bette Davis and Christopher Lee as
Okay, who is Bette Davis? That name sounds familiar. I thought she looked familiar, but I wasn't sure who she was.
she has like over like 100 acting credits. Let me see.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. I just don't know what I know her from. Christopher Lee, I recognized right away. I was like, oh, is that Christopher Lee? That is cool.
Yeah. Oh, she was in the Broadway play of All About Eve. What else was she? She was in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Death on the Nile, uh,
Okay.
Whales of August was another one. Uh, let me
Okay, I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah. So they're like really old films. She was also in Dark Victory, The Letter, The Little Foxes, No Voyager. Um
No.
so yeah, like those films. Uh so yeah, that and then she's in this film. So how do we think about these two new characters?
I thought they were pretty interesting villains. In a lot of ways, I mean, I don't super remember the first one. It was a while ago when we watched it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I feel like these villains, at least Christopher Lee, was way more compelling. But that's just because he's Christopher Lee. And, like, man, was that guy always old? He's just like this is in the 70s and he still looks old.
He's
It's
still
just
in
because
old. Yeah. I think he
yeah,
passed
he always plays the bad guy, and I think he does a good. But I mean, like, it's because he does a good job at being the bad guy. So
Mhm.
he did a good job in this too. He's just got a great voice
Oh
for a villain.
yeah. Like he was Saruman in Lord of the Rings. He
He
was
was Count
Yeah,
Dooku
he
in
was
Star
Count Dooku.
Wars.
Yeah, he was Count Dracula in one of the
Oh, he
Dracula
was
films.
Dracula. He was a
Yeah,
Bond villain at one point too. I think.
yeah, I think so too.
I think
Uh,
it was Goldfinger. No, it wasn't Goldfinger. I don't remember, but he was a Bond villain at some point.
right. Oh, here it is. He was in the Man with the Golden Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool.
he played Francisco Scaramanga. Now
Interesting.
that's a name. So yeah, so he's in this film again as the villain. And when was this film made? 1978. Now I'm kind of like
I think it was 70s, just based on the way people were dressed and the haircuts.
yeah. Let me see. When was he born? 1922. I'm curious now because I kind of want to know how old he was when he filmed this film.
If it
19.
was the 70s and he was born in the 20s, he would have been in his 50s, I guess.
He was 56.
Yeah.
Uh
Wow.
oh wow. I know he passed away when he was in his 90s, so he had a long life.
He was very old when he passed away, yes.
Hmm. So yeah, so we have these two characters. We have Ganon, who was like the main guy. Then we have Wedge, who is Bette Davis's character, and it looks like Christopher Lee's character Ganon was mostly focused on getting famous. Was that his motivation?
I don't know.
I want to say it's getting famous because he was always kind of saying like tell the world that I found mind control or whatever. And Wedge was mostly into like getting money.
Oh, sorry, I must have misheard you. Yes, yeah, I guess fame and acclaim was his motivation. Money
Yes,
was hers.
yes. So we have that whole like dynamic between fortune and fame. Uh,
Yeah.
and then there was that one scene where they were trying to like pull friggin' gold blocks out of the museum.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy scene.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you know how heavy gold is? It's like 27 pounds a bar. So like, no wonder it would have like destroyed the car. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So in that scene, that's when like they like when they pulled out all the stops. We're like, okay, we're gonna go all out with this with the effects. How do you
Oh
think
yeah, the
that
effects
felt?
in this movie are really impressive. They were impressive in the last movie too. Just all the practical effects.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
So what do you think
Um,
about What do you think about that sequence in the museum?
that was really impressive. Like I really one thing I do like about watching these old movies is like looking at the special effects and seeing just how like, for us we'd look at it and be like, "Oh, that's kind of cheesy," but it looks super real, and even if it doesn't look quite as, I guess, intense as some of the stuff we can do now, like it's super impressive all that they were able to accomplish back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, what do you think
So,
about like the whole
yeah.
UFO effects? Because I think that was that special effects, or was that did they just like shrink a scale model down or something?
Yeah, probably something like that, but it was really cool.
Oh yeah. So like, and okay, so like, I know that the film starts off with what's his face, Benet, who just drops him off and just is like, "Peace out, I'm leaving." Um,
Yeah, I don't know if he should win Uncle of the Year or
I
anything.
know.
Leaving these two kids alone in the city
Oh
by
yeah.
themselves.
Yeah, and there's like, "Oh, have fun in your vacation. I'll be back in a week. Bye," and then he leaves.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
we
so
should have kept an eye on the 12-year-olds.
probably, yeah.
Or 14, however old they were.
Oh yeah. So speaking of the two main characters, we have Tony again and Tia again by Kim Richards and Ike Eisenman, respectively. If you want to know what actually happened to both of those actors, Kim Richards went on to become one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Really?
Uh huh. And also, yeah, and then she cameoed in the Race to Witch Mountain in 2009. Also,
Yeah, they both had a cameo in that.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, and Ike Eisenman actually went on to become a sound effects specialist.
Interesting.
Yeah, for mostly animated films. So we have these two. So now that they're in this new environment. Oh, by the way, I usually I would say like a background of the films that we review, but there was nothing on this film. There was no background.
Oh,
So we have no idea. I guess it just came to being out of nowhere.
maybe.
Yeah. So we have these new characters come back, and now their arc in the other one was complete. They know that they are aliens. They know they have telepathy. Um, so
Okay, so
now
did they not know they were aliens in the first movie? Like,
I
they had to figure that out?
I don't think that they were, because I know that they were like, "What are we? What I have these fuzzy memories, man." Like,
Okay, right. I
yeah.
just remembered.
Yeah. So now they know that they're aliens and they have powers. Now I guess their main conflict in this film, well, besides trying to, are you all right?
Sorry, I dropped something.
Okay. So now one of the main conflicts, like the inner conflicts that they have, is trying to use their powers, trying to control their powers. How do you think that that's shown in this film?
I mean, I wouldn't say that's a conflict personally. I
Oh.
think the main conflict is kind of like her trying to find Tony.
Right.
That seems to be the crux of like what's going on.
Right.
But yeah, we are getting to see them like use their powers more like easily, which was kind of cool. You're getting to see them like in the first movie they were figuring out stuff, and now in this movie they're kind of like knocking down doors and lifting people, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like they're like, "Where's the RV guy? Who cares? No one cares
Yeah,
about
I
him."
was like, are they gonna go visit the RV guy who helped them? But no, they didn't.
Yeah, man. Like I guess they didn't really care about him that much. But you know what they do care about? Gangsters. Specifically, these members of a juvenile gang, where Tia ends up walking into the middle of a gang war, where she ends up assisting the members of this gang, which I believe they were called the Earthquakes. So, what do we think about these guys, these little rascals type
Oh,
fellas?
they were cute. I thought they were a nice little add-on, and I also thought it was really sweet neat how they were really trying to help Tia. They were kind of like looking out for her, even though clearly she didn't really need their help because she had superpowers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I thought it was a nice little dynamic that they gave her some people, kind of like a team, to help her go find Tony. It was interesting. We kind of got to see these two different storylines going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So like I know that like they were like, oh, but we don't want to be good. We want to be bad because we want to be like gangbangers and we want to do that stuff. You know, that kind of thing. So like also like do you think it's supposed to be like, I don't know if this is true, but do you think this is supposed to be like a commentary about how kids are like more like in these underprivileged neighborhoods or like more prone to join gangs or whatever? Because I know that like when Tia told him about Tony, they were like, what gang does he belong to? And she's like, he doesn't belong in a gang. He's like, I've never heard of a kid not belonging in a gang because that's so integrated into their society.
I don't know. I mean, I figured they were just kind of being kids, and when they talk about a gang, it's more like these are your buddies that you hang out with and stuff like that. I didn't think they were really referring to like gangs. So, I don't know. It just kind of seemed like that was like little boys, trying to mark their territory, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought they meant like gang because they're like, we want to be bad people. We want to like do these things. We want to be feared across whatever, Los Angeles. And also they're like, oh no, the other gang, the goons, they're racially diverse and they'll stand there and just like hit their fist with their hands.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining to see their intimidation techniques. They were interesting.
Oh snap! And then we never see them again after they were defeated. So I guess that weren't that big of a deal.
Well, the good guys were kind of diverse. They had like one kid who wasn't white with them.
Okay. So yeah, so we have like though these new characters.
Stick out to me.
Yeah. So we have these new characters, and they're like all this kind of stuff. And now we have this other character named Yokomoto, who's supposed to be the truant officer for the Board of Education. And he's supposed to be like trying to find these kids, put them back into school. But they kind of portray him as like this bad guy that who wants them to be like, dude, you're too rad, man. You got to go to school and be like a square, like the rest of like that kind of thing. So what do we think about his character?
Oh, I liked him because at first I thought, yeah, he's just going to be that kind of cartoonish, truant officer that you see in a bunch of kid movies where it's like, hey, get over here, that sort of thing. But they really humanized him near the end where he's saying, like, I want what's best for you guys, and I want you guys, to come and tell me, hey, thank you for helping me stay in school. Like, he really does have the kids' best interest in mind, and we kind of see how he's longing for acceptance in some sort of way. Like, he wants to be, I guess he wants to make his own impact. And so, I liked that you're seeing that, like, he wants to be able to help the kids, and he wants to have a legacy of helping these kids stay off the streets and stuff like that, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and like when I'm watching this film, like as an adult who has been through the entire education system and actually fully knows what benefits it is to be educated and how good that is to have that, I can really understand like where he comes from, saying like you gotta go to school because it's really what's best for you. It might seem like you just want to do work, you just want to hang out by the roller rink, or that's what kids do, I think, or by the mall or whatever, and buy a 5-cent gum and like just chillax. But you gotta go and work. You gotta work on your maths and your histories and your Englishes, because it'll ultimately benefit you in the outcome. And they do like kind of, I know that they come around and they do want to end up going to back to school because they are influenced by Tia, and because they were like, oh, if we go to school, can we also be as smart as Tia and get superpowers? And he's like, sure, whatever, kid. So yeah, and then we got that whole thing. So yeah, let's go back to the characters, the main villain character, because we did skip over one villain character, which was Sickle, who was played by Anthony James, who was Wedge's nephew, who is supposed to be like the muscle of the group, of the villain
That's
group.
an odd way to describe him, given that he seemed to be very lacking in that.
Oh yeah, he was a very skinny guy, but he was supposed to be like, I'm the guy who does the tough things, even though I'm afraid of heights, and that's funny, and that's the funny thing. And then he's like, "Kid, you saved my life. I guess it's only appropriate that we make you a mind slave." And
I know. I mean, like seriously, he saved his life and nothing. Okay.
yeah, I mean, like that's even like I know that even Gannon, Christopher Lee's character, even straight up said the guy that whose life you saved doesn't believe you. Let's do something weird to him. And then I guess he kind of forgot that he saved his life, and he's like, whatever, let's make him a mind slave. And so yeah, like then that so we have him in this whole mix. So now we have like all this stuff is going on, and now it all accumulates to like this major showdown in like in this nuclear place, or is it a nuclear plant? I believe.
I guess it kind of looks like that.
Yeah. So we got this nuclear plant, and they all do the thing, and they try to fight each other. So, what do you think about the relationship between Tia and Tony throughout this film, especially with Tony as like a mind wiped person?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
Oh, like what do you think about the relationship between Tia and Tony in this film?
See, I thought this was really interesting because you saw just the extent of their bond in the first movie, and it was really it really kind of hurt my heart to see how he was being separated from her with the the mind control. And I thought that gave it a level of just kind of like hurt to Tia and to Tony throughout the midst of this. Like it had me invested as a viewer, being like, oh, I just want them to be back together, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then also he got kidnapped because he wanted to save someone from dying. So let this be a lesson to you kids: never help anyone because they might turn you into a mind slave. so yeah, so we got all that thing going on. Oh, there was also the cab driver who he didn't do much, but he was funny because he was like, let me give you a fare. Oh no, you're a goat. Isn't that a barrel of laughs? That
was interesting.
Oh yeah. So like, what do you think about like the use of their powers in this film? Like the use of how they were able to creatively utilize their powers of telekinesis in this film.
I thought it was really cool. Like they really amped it up in this one. Like I thought it was really neat just how powerful they were. It kind of gave it like a very action movie kind of feel that I wasn't expecting from the film. That because it wasn't really in the first movie. So I thought it was really neat. Like, you had them in the first movie kind of doing cutesy stuff, and then this one it's like 11 in season 2 of Stranger Things or something, flipping cars and tanks and whatnot. It was really, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I just read this really kind of like sad thing about Jack So, who played Yokomoto in the film. He was actually diagnosed with esophageal cancer, like right after the filming wrapped.
That's so sad.
Yeah, and then Return from Witch Mountain, this film ended up being his final performance, and then he passed away the following January.
Oh, that's so sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can kind of see it like in his face because he does have like this kind of like weird thing going on with his eyes that kind of like sloop down. That is an indication that there is something wrong with him biologically in terms of like there might be something like going on, and it ended up being like esophageal cancer. And rest in peace, Jack So. You did a really good job in this film. Am I right?
I thought he was real good. That's real sad.
Yeah. But so we got all this other stuff. What do you think about the main like the big showdown at the end of the film?
It was pretty intense. Like really intense. Things got crazy really fast. But I do think the build-up was impressive with Chris Lee. He was having Tony do like little things that weren't really hurting anybody, but then he was having him like try to kill his sister, and that was the point where Tony was like kind of able to resist the mind control, and I thought that was neat.
Yeah, and then Tia was able to use her powers to short circuit the mind control device, and then she was no longer in his control. And then with their combined power, they just blasted those guys into outer space. By that I mean they lifted them up to like a random like plank of wood that was levitated.
A very Disney punishment, I suppose.
A very Disney punishment where we never see them like get killed or maybe they get arrested, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they go back to the Rose Bowl, which is where they were, and then they fly off into the sunset, and all is well. Should we have Witch Mountain 3?
I think we're good. What we got. I mean, we can just pretend that Race to Witch Mountain was the third one, and like Tony and Tia are the people that, because they actually are called Tony and Tia, I think, in the movie.
I think
so.
Yeah.
Maybe they just settled down and had normal lives on Earth.
Ooh, that's a cool fan theory. And also, like, I believe there was a remake of Escape to Witch Mountain that came out in 1995, starring a 14-year-old Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's also on Disney Plus too. So.
Oh, you need.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see like a Elizabeth Moss at her youngest, like in her early performances, check out Escape to Witch Mountain in 1995 version. So yeah, we got all this stuff going on in this film, but I think it was all very well paced. What do you think?
I actually did think it was pretty well paced. The goat scene was a little much, but no, like I was actually surprised with this movie because the first one I found a little bit boring. Like there were parts where it really dragged.
Yeah.
But with this film, they really like amped up the stakes.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed this one a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, and also like I believe in the scene where they were having the high speed chase, and then the friggin' minibus just like flips over and skits like across the street down the hill, and I'm like, geez, somebody has to be seriously hurt, and then they just like walk out like nothing happened.
I know, that bus must be made out of titanium or something.
Jeez, yeah, or like what was it called? The vibranium. The vibranium, the element that Captain America's shield is made out of.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and then they since it was flipped over, they just walked out like standing right side up already. Did you notice that? What's up with that?
What do you mean?
Because like the car was flipped over, and then they just walked out, but they were already standing upright already. They weren't like upside down themselves.
Oh, I guess I didn't notice that.
So yeah, so that thing happened, but all in all, I would say an enjoyable film. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was fairly enjoyable too.
Mm-hmm. The one of the main criticisms that there is of this film was that it looks too much like a made for TV film. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't agree with that. I think given the time period, it looks like a theatrical release, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, I could have said the first one kind of looks that way. I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with that as well. I think this is a pretty good. I think it makes sense for it to come out in theaters in the 1978 because it does have a lot of like pretty impressive practical effects in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it looks pretty cool. And then they came back, and then Benet was like, "So what did you guys do this weekend?" They were like, "Oh, we were just like hanging out, wink," and then they left. So yeah, that's Return from Witch Mountain. What rating would you give this film?
I'd give it probably like a 6.5 or a 7.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just because personally, like, it's not one of my favorite movies, and the acting was a little flat with the kids. But I mean, they are kid actors, so that's to be expected. But all things considered, I'd give it a 7 because it was a very well executed film.
Yeah, I would say so too. I think it was a really nice, enjoyable film, something to watch with the kids. Um, and that's. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with this film?
Um, I mean, no, not really. I mean, it was interesting. I think having Christopher Lee as the bad guy did make me enjoy it more.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree so too. Um, so yeah, that oh, do you remember that one scene where Yakamoto was walking by in the nuclear plant, and then he just sees this other Asian lady and just like kind of checks her out while he was walking.
Yeah, there are some questionable moments in the film. It was the 70s, so,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it's understandable.
right. All right, so that was Return from Witch Mountain, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Vision podcast, home of wacky talkies, The Kingdom, Evil Exists, and many more.